Biodiversity. From the word biodiversity, bio means life and diversity means variety. It is the variability among living organisms from all sources, including terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and the ecological complexes of which they are a part. Biodiversity includes all ecosystems, managed or unmanaged. Sometimes, biodiversity is presumed to be a relevant feature of only unmanaged ecosystems, such as wildlands, nature preserves, or national parks. This is incorrect. Managed systems predate plantations, farms, croplands, aquaculture sites, rangelands, or even urban parks, and urban ecosystems have their own biodiversity.
Biodiversity includes three main types: diversity within species or genetic diversity, between species or species diversity, and between ecosystem or ecosystem diversity. The first one is genetic diversity. Every species on Earth is related to every other species through genetic connections. The more closely related any two species are, the more genetic information they will share and the more similar they will appear. An organism's closest relatives are members of its own species or organisms with which it has the potential to mate and produce offspring. While all species have descended from a single common ancestor, species diverge and develop their own peculiar attributes with time, thus making their own contribution to biodiversity. Next is species diversity. Species diversity is the variety of species within a habitat or a region. Species are the basic units of biological classification and thus the normal measure of biological diversity. Species richness is the term that describes the number of different species in a given area. Some habitats such as rainforests and coral reefs have many species. For example, tropical North and South America has about 85,000 flowering plant species. Tropical and subtropical Asia has more than 50,000, and tropical and subtropical Africa has about 35,000. Species are grouped together into families according to shared characteristics. Lastly is ecological diversity. Ecological diversity is the intricate network of different species present in local ecosystems and the dynamic interplay between them. An ecosystem consists of organisms from many different species living together in a region and their connections through the flow of energy, nutrients, and matter. Those connections occur as the organisms of different species interact with one another.
The Earth's natural assets are made up of plants, animals, land water, the atmosphere, and humans. Together, we all form part of the planet's ecosystems, which means if there is a biodiversity crisis, our health and livelihoods are at risk too. But we are currently using 25% more natural resources than the planet can sustain. As a result, species, habitats, and local communities are under pressure or direct threats. For example, from loss of access to fresh water. Biodiversity underpins the health of the planet and has a direct impact on all our lives. Put simply, reduced biodiversity means millions of people face a future where food supplies are more vulnerable to pests and disease, and where fresh water is in irregular or short supply. For humans, that is worrying, very worrying indeed. Human activities are causing major changes in biological communities worldwide, and these changes can harm biodiversity and ecosystem function. Ecosystem function is important for supporting plant and animal communities and ensuring the long-term survival of human populations. The main threats facing biodiversity globally are destruction, degradation, and fragmentation of habitats, reduction of individual survival and reproductive rates through exploitation, pollution, and introduction of alien species. If no changes are made in the ways humans use resources on Earth, there will continue to be a degradation of biodiversity until human lives can no longer be sustained. Humans affect biodiversity by their population numbers, use of land, and their lifestyles, causing damage to habitats for species. It is important for humans to realize how their actions affect biodiversity and the importance of maintaining what biodiversity is left on the earth. Through proper education and by demanding that governments make decisions to preserve biodiversity, the human population will be able to sustain life on Earth longer.
We need to alarm ourselves that each of us is needed for the restoration of our environment. By helping and resiliency, we could solve the problems that would extinct living things. Through conservation and balancing the needs, we could save resources needed by, and we could reduce the adverse impact on the environment by encouraging ourselves to protect our motherland. We can participate in biodiversity conservation by increasing our knowledge of environmental issues, increasing our awareness of the impacts of biodiversity loss, and increasing support for government policies and actions that conserve our valuable ecosystems. We can become educators and role models as stewards of the environment by aiding in the recovery of species at risk and preventing other species from becoming at risk. Upon the video, the human presence is closely correlated to extinction rates, and it's because of exploitation, habitat destruction, and climate change, disease, and any form that could expose to bigger threats of humankind and other species that live on this earth.